Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions from your favorite teams from the Pacific North, fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby. I'm just a little mixed on them today. I'm sorry.
We're not even talking about the game today because this is a recap
I am
through the
aware.
weekend with the Astros series, short week, back to Mariner Monday after our Mariners Wednesday edition. But before we break down the series that was versus the Astros, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy, or if he talks about a hitter, they're going to get a little bit hot. And if you're looking for someone like that who might have called Demo heating up a little bit, Jorge Polanco, Josh Rojas, Julio Rodriguez during his hot streak, this dude's on fire. If you're looking for a guy like that, maybe you're looking for a guy like me, your boy, Coach Red. You find me on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real _ Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy that he's starting to heat up just a little bit. He feels pretty good about getting his picks to click, and we're hoping that he just rolls that into the next week. If you're looking for a guy like that, maybe you're looking for a guy like Cain.
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, on YouTube at Kane06, TikTok Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it.
Mariners end up taking the series 2-1, and they started off
Sure did.
by an uncharacteristic loss. Cain, hit me with that score.
5-3. The Houston Astros won that game, which was not very cash money, as the kids say these days.
You're a kid.
And
Cash money. It's like Wilmer Valderrama from your mama, because you were trying to win that cash money.
uh, yeah, dude, this is just a game that the bullpen gave
George
away.
Kirby was dealing.
Yeah, and then the bullpen absolutely fell to complete shambles. Gabe Spires got lit up, which is super unfortunate to see, especially him being the first guy out of the bullpen. Um, for him to be so perfect all year to kind of flunder in a rival game just kind of hurt a little bit.
I mean, the Mariners in that inning gave up 5 walks. What's the score before the Astros started scoring their runs?
It was 3-1.
3-1. So you got Kirby that's stealing, and then the wheels start falling off. Gabe Spires a little bit sporadic with the pitches.
Had some errors on the field.
Yeah,
I
it just
mean,
wasn't clean.
no, it kind of looked like week one baseball again.
And Trent Thornton, I believe, came in right after that, and he didn't
Dude,
look super crisp.
yeah, let's see. I actually have the stats here. George was okay in his outing. He went 6 and he struck out 3.
That was kind of
um,
the modus operandi of the Astros, was to
right,
jump on guys. When we get to Logan's start, that's the epitome of what you
right.
saw in that game. They were really trying to attack in the zone. This is a team that has recently started to get hot. They're a team that feasts on guys in the zone, so they were trying to jump early on Gilbert. But the Mariners, get a lead, and we sit there and you start feeling pretty solid about this team. You're getting to the strength. You've got everybody available after the off day. So you're sitting there feeling pretty good. And then uncharacteristically, you give up 5 walks in an inning that leads to 5 runs. I mean, there's not much you can
Yeah,
do
4.
to 4, sorry. I mean,
Uh,
5 walks in that inning, 4 runs given up. And the Mariners, they just looked a little deflated after that and weren't really
mhm.
putting together many good at bats. They got themselves into positions to at least tie it up, but they just couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, and that's just kind of been right when they're down. That the whole story this season has been when they're down and they've got runners on, they either strike out or hit it right to somebody. I mean, that's just the nature of it. So it was an unfortunate loss for the team. Not the greatest way to start, coming off the Texas series and who'd you play before that? The Arizona series too?
The
Was that the
Braves.
Oh yeah, the Braves. That's right.
So it's back-to-back losses. Good news in this game, you get righty Cal Homer.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That
which put
was
at that point puts
awesome.
him at 3 on the year at like 23 plate appearances right-handed.
Yeah. Uh yeah, dude. Game 2. That was
And my boy Polanco clocked in with a knock in that game.
yes. Yes, he did. Let's see.
Did he go
Oh, in the in
yard?
the in the first game, yeah, he went right center.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. The ball was crushed.
So good start for both of us on our picks to click from last
I
week.
don't think Cal went deep in that game.
But let's go to game 2.
He
Kane hit
did.
me with that score.
Demo went, hit the 2-yard bomb.
Oh, two-run bomb. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Game 2. That's where it was. 5-0 Mariners. Logan Gilbert. Oh Lord.
He was the pick. He should have been the pick to click because he was dealing. So in the
8
first inning, he gives up
scoreless.
a bunt base hit to Jordan Alvarez and then proceeds to sit back and cruise
Yes.
for uh, 8 innings total.
8 innings, 2 hits. Both were off Jordan.
And the other one was a swinging bunt.
Was a swinging bunt. And that he barely beat out. Um,
Oh no, he clocked him with 4 walks in that game. But this was a game where Logan was just continually
Getting
progressing
contact,
because
dude.
they were trying to get ahead when they saw a pitch in the zone they were swinging, and he was doing a great job mixing it up with the height differential. He was working
Mm-hmm.
fastball up, fastball low. He's working the split finger. He's working the slide P or the sweeper.
And the
You know,
cutter that he
cutter he
picked
threw in there
up.
a hair. He didn't throw it a ton, but he didn't get a ton of strikeouts in this game. But he was able to get through 8 and a couple of walks in the
I
seventh and eighth
mean,
inning. Probably hampered him from getting into that ninth and going the complete game shutty.
yeah. And then, the big thing here, and let me tell you, Saturday's broadcast was awesome. The Fox broadcast having I his last name slips me. I know his first name's AJ
AJ
because
Brzezinski.
he does Foul Territory podcast.
It would be AJ Brzezinski.
He brought just the most sarcastic, like, things he was saying in the booth had me dying. And he was giving a lot of love to the Mariners pitching staff. So you love to see that out of a third party guy. You had Goldie in the booth calling a great game, as he always does. But man, this game was awesome, dude. Logan Gilbert, so dominant. And this is where Cal brought out the big dumper from the right side on an absolute nuke job.
No, the absolute new job in that game came from Luis Urias, dude. Straight away central, baby. That ball
Yeah.
was tatered.
Let's see
And
who hit it
some good
further.
things that you saw in this game was multi-hit games from Polanco and Garver. Polanco goes double to start off an inning. Garber goes double to right center to drive him in. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this was a more complete game, but when your pitcher is humming so well, they were able to score one early. Then they started tacking them on as the game went along. But when you really look at this game as a whole, this is what you would like to see from Mariners baseball. If you can
Yes.
get to 5 runs, you've got a pretty good opportunity to win the game. And you're doing this against Frambar Valdez, who's one of the most feared lefties in the American League.
That's true. I believe it was his first game back.
Second.
Second game back. This just goes to show you the grit that the Mariners have and the different mindset, right, that they're coming into this year. You played Texas, you took 2 out of 3, I believe, in their stadium
Yep.
where you didn't win last year. You've had a very bad track record also at Minute Maid. Like it's
Not
not been
last
the
year, but
but
historically, yes.
prior, yeah, it's been bad because the Astros have been the top dog. You come in there and you just absolutely shut down that lineup. And this is a lineup where they're all hitting over 280 almost.
Well, they're starting to get hot. They were playing pretty poorly. They started to get hot.
And it was their
And
pitching staff. That's just when you lose Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez.
Alex Bregman is hitting about 200 with
Yeah,
not
that's
much
not good.
power. So that hurts. Jordan was finally coming out of a little mini slump that he had going on.
0 for 18.
Altuve was hot heat. Tucker does what he does. And then your first base, you kind of were looking for something there because Bray was so bad. They bring up Singleton. They've got some players that were out of the lineup, but as a whole, that's what Logan Gilbert does. Logan Gilbert doesn't lose
Mhm.
to to the
He does.
Astros.
He does not. Well, he doesn't like to lose in general. But rocking a 1.69 ERA. Ew.
Oh,
Disgusting. The dude has
sick.
been
Ugh.
gross.
Then you get into Sunday's game, and
Oh boy.
you're sitting
Oh boy.
you're sitting there with Bryce Miller, who's been pitching fantastically. His last outing, he went no through 6. So he's against the Braves lineup. So you expect some big things. You're facing Hunter Brown, who's got a pretty big ERA. Mariners start the game off with a walk and a hit by pitch, and they don't get a runner to third base.
No, they did not.
Then you get into
No,
the
they did
second
not.
inning, and they do get the bases loaded, walk in a run, and then Josh Rojas hits a liner out to left field to score that second run, and then they don't score anymore.
And then it goes scoreless till the 6th.
Yeah, when Luke Rayleigh was tired of not hitting home runs and hit a mammo bomb. It was like when Julio hit his first one. You know that the power's there, but to see it unleashed, whew, whew.
He absolutely smoked that ball, dude. 407 is how far that went.
Oh, and then you got the Astros getting a little hot.
Yeah, and I was saying this before the whole series. I was paying attention to the Mexico City series against the Padres for them. I think that was the Padres that they played. Or was the
Rockies.
Rockies? The Rockies. And they came out of that with the sweep. And then they were staying hot and scoring a lot with Cleveland. And so coming into this, it's like, you don't want to face a hot Houston team because it normally doesn't work well for people.
Well, and the Mariners were trying something new, like score runs first
Yeah. And
and
then,
have and
it's a
have a
foreign.
cushion.
Yeah. And it's pretty foreign to them. And so, they're sitting there
Up 3
at
nothing.
3-0. And then freaking Kyle Tucker, man. That dude absolutely crushes one to right. Then they're down by 1. And then you're getting a little worried at this point for me because I'm like, this is where it's going to fall apart.
Then you got a lot worried next inning.
But, credit to Bryce again. He shut the door the rest of the inning. And then I believe the relievers came in, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Bryce comes out in the 7th and gets a runner on, and then gives up a 2-run bond to John Singleton.
Same pitch that he threw to Kyle Tucker. He was trying to throw a sweeper, caught too much of the plate, dipped that bat, and it was gone. And now you're really worried because usually when you're losing to Houston, you don't come out winning. And I forget what time of the day it was, but I think something happened with my kid and I had to lay with him. And while I was laying with him, Cal Raleigh took the lead.
Well, we're not even there yet. So I was at a doubleheader for softball. Luckily, I'm in the dugout while we're up to bat and turn it on, and I see Dylan Moore standing on second base. And I see Luis Urias just sit there and flick his bat out
Oh yeah, he
up the
did.
middle to score Demo and tie it up. So then you're going in to the bottom of the eighth. Stanek comes in, gets 2 outs, gets a guy on, and then Munoz comes in, one pitch, 1 out. Then you get to the top half of the ninth, and you're facing Josh Hader, which
Yeah.
isn't a fun thing to do.
Nope.
And Cal Raleigh has 2 strike count on him. I think an 0-2 count. Hader leaves one a little fat, and right-handed Cal Raleigh strikes again.
And he goes to the Crawford
That ball's out at
boxes.
any park. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to shortchange him on that one. That ball was tanked.
Doesn't matter. Home run's a home run. But absolute laser beam.
And then Munoz takes care of business in the bottom half. I
Which
mean,
you coming out of another series win in a rival stadium, like that is huge. It was such a huge series. And, then you're hearing the rumblings of Minnesota, right? Coming to hear that. And
well, and the Mariners almost with Bryce, if he doesn't give up that 2-run bomb and gets out of that 7th inning, the Mariners would tie a record that's been around since 1915 for most consecutive starts by a starting pitcher to give up 2 or fewer earned runs. They
yeah.
they were at 21 consecutive games, which is just insane. And I was talking to a buddy of mine after the game, and we were talking about it. He goes, to get that to like tie that record, maybe they should have taken out Bryce Miller. And here was my counter to that. I go, no, because you want to know what? You want to know when this is going to be talked about again? I mean, we would talk about it for a couple of weeks as it was still going on, and then
Mm-hmm.
it would lose itself. And then in about 80 years, when some other team gets close to doing it, then it would get brought up again, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you play to win the game. You want to continually win. And Bryce Miller, especially with how good he looked against Atlanta, how good he's looked consistently for the last month, is the
Yes.
guy that you wanted to go out there and get that. I mean, I didn't know where his pitch count was at going in the seventh, but from what I was told, it was below 70. So, yeah, he finished
Tell
with
you.
like 82 pitches total on the
Yes.
game through 6+. So he was in a good spot pitch count wise, but you had to sit there and go, okay, we used a little bit of our relievers on Friday night, but everyone besides Sauce came in and was an easy breezy inning for him. Then he pitches again on Sunday. So you were sitting there with a pretty darn full bullpen. You had
Mm-hmm.
everyone at your disposal, but you come out and you win the game. And like you were saying, it's great to do in Houston. It's last year they're 6-1 down in Houston, which was awesome to see. But in that one loss was the one where Emerson Hancock, like we're lighting up their starter, knock him out in the second. Then Emerson Hancock feels something in his arm and he gets shut down. Sauce comes in,
That's
gives up
right.
a bunch of runs, and then I think it's like back and forth, and that was the game that they lost.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just great, especially when you are in first place. They have maintained first place as of recording right now for
Well,
2.5
actually, if
weeks.
we look at it, their winning percentage, not including tonight's game, because we'll recap that next week, they're sitting at 55.8%, which rounds them up to 56%. So technically, they're back to 54. Let's go, Jerry. But we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. But they're kind of hovering there. But with this pitching staff, you have Emerson Hancock, who's pitched better than expected so far. Uh, you got Brian Wu, who's looked really good. They might even, with how good Emerson's been going, his last rehab start, he went about 65 pitches. I could see them potentially tacking one more rehab start on to him to get him up to that 80, 85 pitch and feel comfortable with it. But with the injuries to Santos and to Matt Brash, and not knowing when either one is coming back, the more length you can get out of these starters is going to be key, because you're going to hit the dog days. You're going to have those times where, potentially Hancock's up just to eat innings. Both hasn't got a lot of play this year, and he's kind of been an inning eater. Salcedo can be that inning eater for you.
Mhm.
But you take care, you win the games now, because what's bit the Mariners in the ass the last handful of years is their slow starts. Them starting off the hottest or right near the hottest in the division has been key, because
Mhm.
you're doing this with Julio still being, even though he's batting like 260 still, he's not hitting those extra base hits and a ton of power like you expect to see. That will come.
It's
You've
frustrating.
got Polanco, who's batting right around 200. You've got Mitch Garver, who's batting right around 200, who you've seen encouraging things from. You've got Demo, who's been putting together good at bats. Josh Rojas has been your consistent guy. Luis Urias is doing better with more at bats that he's getting. Same goes for Luke Raley. So you're getting some of these guys to start to gel just a bit, and that's going to
Mhm.
be key, because you are going to hit a stretch like we had near the beginning of the season where you have some rough outings by your starters, and the offense is going to need to
Mhm.
carry the toll, right? But
And right now, it's just it's so hit and miss. It's like they score in bunches when they do score, right?
little
And
pockets.
and then it's just no. Uh, and I do have one question for you, Coach. Why hasn't Rivias played? I
Rivas.
know I know that Demo is your everyday shortstop, right? Until JP comes back. I do understand that, but it's also for me right now, right? It's like, hey, you give Polanco a day, throw him there or something. You have Demo and Polanco basically playing every day.
Yeah, I could see um, sometime this week one of them getting a day off. But I think what you're seeing right now is with Polanco, he's gotten off to a slow start and he's squaring up balls. They're just not finding holes, and they're starting to. And I think that you want to continue that momentum. And even when Demo has gotten out, a lot of his at bats
His
have been extended at bats. He's been clutch when you need him. So I think
mhm,
that's kind of where you're trying to go, because Demo for last year, coming off the injury, super late start to the season, got hot for about a week and then cooled down a little bit. And then it was tough to find playing time with the way the roster was constructed. I think with Demo, you also want to get hot because you don't know how long JP is going to be out, right?
mhm.
JP with the grade 1 strain, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks. So best case, you're getting JP back in 2. So you want to put out a seasoned guy. Yes, Rivas has played for 10 years in the minors. He makes his debut at 27. He does get a triple in his first at bat, but he also struck out a couple of times. Will Demo strike out? Sure. But I think what you see is Demo can hold his own enough and extend counts versus righties,
Mhm.
where you don't necessarily want to take that out. Has Demo's defense looked phenomenal at shortstop? There's a couple of plays I think he could have made that just got underneath the glove, but he's making all the plays that you need him to make and a few that you
Mhm.
don't expect, like that bases loaded play against the Braves. So I
Yeah.
think that with that, he's one of your best defenders in the infield. So I think that that's part of the reason why he's
And,
out there.
and another thing too, they called the him up too because apparently Ribios is like a platinum glover there at short, is what they were saying. Is he's more known for the glove than he is for the bat.
Yeah, he's batting about 300, 308 before he got called up
It's not bad.
with a couple of dingers. So I think that you'll see him peppered in a little bit, but I think your main thing is you're trying not to move Demo around right now, because that's one thing where he's going to play shortstop for you most of the time, and he's played limited games there. He's bouncing around. He's played a little third base, first base, outfield. So
Mm.
trying to get him more settled into that everyday routine of being a shortstop, I think that plays in a little bit as well.
Okay. Yeah, I just figured it's a good
I
question to
mean, I
ask
don't
us.
know, because they do weird things, right? Luke Raley
Right.
wasn't batting there for like the first month, and now he's starting basically every day and got his average up to 230, 240.
Something in the last week he's batting 400. So
That'll help when you have limited at bats. So I think it's just getting some of these guys those consistent at bats to either
that's
one,
fair.
get them right, two, keep that momentum going, or three, their bat's too hot. You can't take them out of the lineup, which you saw with Josh Rojas starting in left field yesterday.
Yeah. But Josh Rojas has been such a breath of fresh air. All the 3-for-4s you see him going
He was a
for.
homer away from the cycle yesterday.
That was awesome. As soon as he hit that double, I was like, oh my God, holy crap, wife. He's just a home run away. And then, I think he grounded out in his final at bat. So that was tough. But, let's get to pick the click.
All right, so recapping last week, I had picked Jorge Blanco and Cain had picked Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh's the winner because he hit a couple of homers over a 3-day
Yes.
span, and one was a game winner. But Polanco wasn't a bad choice either.
Ooh.
Home run on Friday night, 2 hits on Saturday, and 1 hit on Sunday.
So,
So
yep.
he's keeping that thing rolling. But Cal Raleigh gets it for the splash and the sizzle. Sizzle, sizzle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm finally on the board. It's 3-1.
Tis. All right. Well, yep, 3 picks to me, 1 to you, and we had 1 week where neither of us were right.
Yep.
All right, Kane, who is your pick to click for this week?
That's a little tough here after what I saw today, but you know what? I'm gonna stick to my guns. We're going Cal Raleigh again.
Wow, doubling down.
We're doubling down on the big dump. Love it. I saw some great at bats from them today. So, they were just hit right at people from what I saw. Uh I'm just gonna stick with the hot hand. When Cal hits home runs, they come in bunches, and I just continued to see that through the week. Minnesota's a place to hit home runs, so I'm gonna stick with Cal. Who do you got, Coach?
I'm half tempted to pick George Kirby because he's got 2 starts this week. I'm so close to picking him, but I'm
Be the
going
first time we
to.
picked a pitcher.
It would be the first time, but then I can't hold it over your head like throughout the week, as every time my player does something good that I get to pester you with it. So that
Sure.
takes a little bit out of the fun away from me. And plus we need to score more runs, so I need to sprinkle some good lucks on a hitter. Let's be honest here.
Yeah,
Okay. Um God, it pains me to do this. Give me Mitch Garver.
I like
Mitch
it.
Garver this week. So starting to heat up a little bit. You saw the walk-off home run last week. You saw 2-hit game over the weekend. He's starting to heat up a little bit in the game today. He clocked in with one of the hits, one of the 3 hits on the day, playing his old stomping grounds in Minnesota, and then getting the A's coming into town. Yes, the A's pitching staff has been pretty solid so far this year, a lot better than most expected. I think that if he can avoid Blackburn, that you feel a little bit better. But go ahead and give me him, and with a little asterisk, I'm going to say George Kirby because turning it on a little bit, there's some swing and miss in that Minnesota Twins offense, and there's some swing and miss with the A's as well. So I think that Kirby set up pretty well to have some success. And usually, if Luis has had a poor game, Kirby really ratchets it up, and you get Furious George.
Yeah.
So, but go ahead and give me Garver because if for no other reason, I just need him to do better. Because legitimately, his first at bat on Saturday after not doing anything on Friday, and just another weak wave at a ball way out of the zone. I believe I texted you and said, I'm done with Garver. He needs a couple of days off. Get him out the field. I don't even want to see him with a bat in
Mm-hmm.
his hand.
That is true.
But
You did
I'm gonna
text me that.
I'm gonna change my tune and say he's my pick to click. Let's go, Mitch.
You know, uh, 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 who really needs to turn it on? Julio. I am. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Like the roller coaster of Julio.
Second highest batting average on the team.
I understand that. but all of these just whiffs and he strikes out a
I
lot,
think
dude.
that you seem to forget that this is the hottest start Julio's ever had to a year. And you're like, this is disappointing. It's the best start he's ever had statistically. He's not putting the ball out of the ballpark. You're starting to see more doubles trickle in, right? Yes, I do want to see the whiffs go. And one thing that I'm noticing is even with it's a lot with two strikes. He's antsy, like that ball out, he's stepping towards it, right? He's so antsy and itching to just unleash. Just needs to get back to having a little bit of fun, making hard contact. And guess what? The ball will go out of the ballpark at some point. He can make hard contact. I would like to see it on a line, though. He's getting a lot
Yeah.
of base hits on the ground through some holes because it's just absolutely roped past some guys. But he picks that ball comes up, 3-4 feet off the ground. You're looking at a double instead of a single. Starting to do that more consistently, then you'll see that rise, and then you'll be fine. With where he's at batting average wise, better than it's ever been this early in the season. Way
It's
better.
fair. It's just, I'm just in my mind, I'm just holding him to this standard, and I know he's only 23. Like I know he's
Gonna be
young.
fine.
I know he's young. It's just with how the Mariners have played and staying in first, he's got to be a big part of it and really lead the team in almost all the categories, like an MVP type player should. So
True.
he's got some
Well,
catching up to do in the home run category. I'll tell you that.
he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Um, it's always fun to beat the Astros, right?
Yeah.
Because I hate the Astros. I hate them. And there's a lot of things that go into that. When the Mariners started playing more competent baseball and were pushing for playoff contention, the Astros are the toast of the town. They've got all these star-studded players, most of them homegrown, few moves to really ratchet them up. And they're a tough team. You throw in the cheating scandal, and it's so fun to beat them. And especially when you felt like you were punching up at them and contending with them, when you could come out of the year with a positive, winning percentage against them, you felt great, even though the Mariners might be missing the playoffs. Now, with how it's constructed, you've got some teams that are pretty tough. The Astros will get hot at some point. The Rangers are going to get healthier. The A's are just saying like F the owners and just trying to win all the games they can as well. Angels are probably out until Mike Trout's back because that's what happens. They've been playing competitively though. But when you look at this division as a whole, you want to win those games early. And to do against the Astros feels good because it's one of those things. It's just like being a UW fan. When you had Oregon beat us 10 years in a row, then you take one, you're like, there we go. We're back. Then they lose the next 2 years, and then they win a couple more. And then, they beat the Ducks 3 times in 2 years. It feels great. It feels awesome. And you feel good about it. And it's so much more satisfying to win those games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about the Astros because I hate them because they're cheaters. And I believe I told about 8 people on Friday, F the Astros, even before the game started.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't know per se if I dislike them and I don't ever want them to win the World Series again, and they just keep doing it. Every year I don't want it.
I wouldn't care if
Um
they won another game ever.
that's fair. Uh there are
I would enjoy
players
that a
that I
lot.
really like on their team.
That's fine. You could still like players, but is there a team that you hate?
A team that I hate, yeah, the Astros are up there. The Yankees. I do
The
hate
Yankees?
I do hate the Yankees. And I hate Yankees fans. I know. I used to kind of be a Yankees fan.
How big of a Yankees fan were you?
Just I liked A Rod. That's about it.
Okay.
Um,
Room ever look like it was themed
yeah,
pinstriped?
it was
Oh,
for a good year.
all right. So why do you hate the Yankees?
They're just so pompous all the time, and no matter how much money they spend, they never can win the championship. I mean, if you look at their team, right? They've spent so much on Giancarlo Stanton. Injury risk. Aaron Judge. Injury risk, no matter how great he is, right? Their
Garrett
team,
Cole.
Garrett Cole. Yep. There you go again. Carlos Rodon, when they brought him over, they went out and got Sean Manaea. Uh, and how much did these awesome guys do? They went out and got Stroman. It still didn't worst season of their existence where they got last place in their division, at least
You
in the
just
last
coupled
20
a whole lot of
years.
things together, but didn't go in there. But yeah, the thing is, they feel like they can spend their way to championships, and it's always
Yeah.
fun watching them go down. And their hitters are geared to hit in that little tiny shoebox of a stadium. And that's what kind of gets frustrating. It's why it's fun to see guys go shove against them. And one thing is, you sat there and you went and hammered, uh, God, I just said his name, but now Garrett Cole. I was thinking Cole something else, but it's Garrett Cole. You sat there, and that's where you had Nicky Scarlatta say, Garrett Cole gives up 3 dingers and 5 runs to the Seattle Mariners, right? That's where he became a Mariners fan after that because we embraced him. But then the next start Garrett Cole has is against the Mariners at home versus Luis Castillo, or it might have been two later. Castillo had back-to-back starts. He had to start with the Reds where he shoved in Yankee Stadium. Then his first game with the Mariners, he's pitching against the Yankees at home. First home start is against the Yankees. That was that extra inning thriller. Matt Brash making plays, Luis Castillo going deep. It was just a back and forth high intensity game on a Tuesday night, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always fun to beat them because they have
The payroll.
envy the people who have what you don't.
Yeah,
They
exactly. I
have
mean,
championships. They have these legendary players. The Mariners have a couple, but they do not have a championship.
there's a couple teams like that, right? And the three teams that I can really confidently say that they're just pulling money out of their ass, right? It's New York Yankees. I guess you could kind of throw the Mets in there too. So 4 teams because Steve Cohen kind of went wild when he got the team.
Reined it back a
Uh,
little bit.
um, but you have San Diego,
Payday loans.
yeah, and then you have the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, shit, how much they have 6 superstars on that team?
So much deferred money.
Yeah, I mean
So
they've got
much.
Shohei, Freddie,
Mookie.
Mookie, Yamamoto. That's 4. Who
That's
else?
Muncy.
Max Muncy. They signed somebody else to a stupid
Chris
amount of
Taylor to
money.
some money.
Hold please. You go talk more about why you hate the Astros.
No, I'm going to tell you about another team I hate. It's the
Oh, go
Toronto
ahead.
Blue Jays, and it's mainly
That's
because their
fair.
fans invade our stadium, and it's so good. My favorite thing is when there's so many, when the Mariners were not in their heyday, which was basically Felix Hernandez's entire career. And when
Mhm.
it was Felix Day, he lost some games, and Felix goes out and shoves for 8 innings. King's Court is rocking, and he goes, "This is my house." And I think the tide changed there a little bit. I don't hate the Blue Jays as a whole. When we're playing there, I still want to beat them, right? But I really hate them when they're at T-Mobile Park because you get all those fans coming down from Canada. And I'll tell you what, people say Canadians are nice, not Toronto Blue Jays fans at T-Mobile Park. They're a bunch of jerks. But it's always good to give them an earful because it really is a battle of the stadium. Because for those guys that live just up in British Columbia, this is the only time they get to see the one Canadian team. So they come down in droves, right?
Right.
And it's always good to send those maple syrup sucking motherfuckers back to Canada where they belong.
Wow, dropping the F bomb on that one. I like it. Yeah, I mean,
Hate
I
people.
don't like Toronto because of their manager. The shit
I
he
love
was
him. I love
talking
him. I love it.
about Cal Raleigh,
I love him.
and it ignited one of the most legendary, like, I don't
He
know,
owns Toronto, and
every time he goes
there's
to
a little
Toronto,
bit.
he is a
There's that
dinger.
bulletin board material that is feeding into that slightly. It happens.
Yeah, and it turned into every time Cal Raleigh plays in the Toronto Blue Jay Stadium,
Just
he
plays the
goes
Blue
yard.
Jays in general.
He goes yard.
Well, like you said, I think we were talking a little bit earlier. Don't know if you said it on the pod or not, but like with the Astros, there's some players you like. I respect what Yordan Alvarez does. The guy is
Dude,
a complete hitter.
he's
He
so
doesn't.
awesome.
And then
He's so awesome.
when you look at the Blue Jays, don't like George Springer, but I like Bo Bichette. I like what he's able to do. You
You know,
know.
Vlad, if he ever can truly figure it out again.
Yep. So even though you might hate the teams, you can still respect or even like some of the players on those teams. But who are some players around the league that you hate?
Carlos Correa, he's for one of them.
One of the
Um,
bigger cheaters.
yeah, and Bregman.
You just okay. I'm going to talk about Alex Bregman because I hate Alex Bregman.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he's got a
fine.
very punchable face.
Yeah, like
He's also a guy that when approached about the cheating scandal, basically came off as we know that you know that we did it, but you guys didn't do anything about it. Screw you. And he's also one of those advanced metrics babies that was like, I'd rather strike out 15 times out of 20 and hit 3 bombs if I'm working on my launch angle because even though I might not do it, my 3 home runs are more impactful than anything else that I have. You know what? When guys get on base, they score. When you have more guys on base in a game, you typically score more runs than the other team. Yes, you do need that power, but I think that there are some guys that just sell out for power, and Bregman's one of them. And you're seeing that this year with him batting 200 with 4 RBIs. He could suck it.
yeah,
Plus, the other thing is about Bregman, he's not like one of those guys where he's done so well against the Mariners that you like kind of hate him, like Jordan has typically done in the past, or like a Martin Maldonado, right? Who
right.
just seems to like hit 125 but has a 500 batting average with 10 homers against the Mariners, right? Like Bregman hasn't been that guy that beats you. I just like I can't wait for him to hit the open market and get the Carlos Correa treatment and go to a team that no one expects for a shorter term deal because his numbers have regressed and they hope that it bounce back and they don't. And he has to go running back to that same team like Carlos Correa had to with the Twins.
Yeah, dude, Carlos Correa, just he was one of the ultimate Mariner killers when he was on the Astros,
And yet
and
again, like
just
he's done it with Minnesota as well.
yeah, and just another guy who was just like, what we cheated, huh? Like so dumbfounded by
Prove
it.
it.
Yeah,
Prove it.
and
You can't.
the dude when he hit the market right after the 1 year deal with Minnesota,
I
he
thought he was
didn't.
coming to the Mariners.
I didn't even play that well the year. I mean, he's also a big injury risk, right? The doctors always look at that knee and always so scared about it, right? And then he basically him and Aaron Judge just fleece everybody, and then have to go back to their represented teams, as you said. The dude just talks up so much, right? He thinks that he's on top of the world, the best shortstop, and yeah, defensively he's great, right? But I mean, the dude just needs a reality check, right? And I think he's getting it because Minnesota can't ever get out of the first round.
That's fair. Um, Pitcher I hate. I don't like Garrett Cole that much because when you looked at it a few years back, yes, he's had a little bit of success, but he hasn't had a ton recently, right? He had that blow up game where he kind of just like, there's no way the Mariners should ever do this to me. I'm Garrett Cole. And it's like, well, guess what? You're going to play us again and your team's still going to lose the game. He's just one of those guys where I feel, yes, he's got success, but it never seems like he has the best success against the Mariners. And I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like the feel around the league is he is the best thing since sliced bread, but I haven't seen it when he plays the Mariners. And he just comes off with that vibe where it's like, dude, this guy sucks.
So I'm gonna pick somebody who's exactly like Garrett Cole, and I'm gonna say Matt Scherzer. He's also a dude that I don't really like because at the end of the day, him and Garrett Cole are both assholes. They really are, right? Because when your team, right, pimps a home run, as in the Yankees in general, they take their sweet ass time. But if somebody pimps one off of them, they start screaming at him. Same with Mad Bum. He's also a piece of shit.
And you're having very few references on why you hate them in like comparison with the Mariners.
Hey, dude.
You're a big picture MLB guy. I get it.
Hey, you told me you didn't say in comparison to the Mariners. You
Well,
said, what players do you hate?
I mean, I would assume that it was implied since it's a Mariners episode that it would relate to the Mariners. Come on, big guy.
I mean, dude, it
You want
happens.
a guy? You want a
Go
guy out of
ahead.
left field?
Sure.
Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin, when the Oakland Athletics were still somewhat relevant and when the Mariners were working their way back, they went and absolutely shelled him. And he said, yeah, there's no way that I should have had that outing against the Mariners. It's just the Mariners. And Cole Irvin has had, I believe, like 7 appearances against the Mariners since. I think he had one good game last year when he was with the Orioles against the Mariners. But the rest of his
Yes.
time in Oakland, he got shelled every single game. I believe his ERA against the Mariners was above 20. It was bad. They would just feast on him. And that's why you don't give teams bulletin board material, right? Where you make such a brazen statement when I I'll get it a little bit more when it's Garrett Cole, but your name is Cole Irvin and you haven't done diddly squat in this league. Dude, get out of here with that mess.
Right.
That's
And
like
that's material that they put in the locker room. It is front and center. I'm being like, here you go, boys.
That's like
That's all
me
the
going to
motivation you
Joe
need.
Rogan and Theo Von. Be like, I've been podcasting for a couple years on a pretty mid-market to low market audience. Yeah, your podcast likely really sucked. I don't know how you can make any money. Like that's the comparison. It's just trash cookies, dude. Get them out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And that was a little cathartic, especially after the game that we witnessed tonight. And the
Yeah. It didn't put me in
Mariners
the best
are
mindset.
doing enough with their starting rotation, like we've said. The bats do have to keep coming alive, and you're seeing glimpses of it from some guys. You just need to see it. You had Mitch Haniger that was hot at the beginning of the year. He's cooling down a little bit. Ty France heated up at the beginning of the year. He's cooled down a little bit. Julio's been up and down. Josh Rojas is riding that hot train. You're starting to see the wheels churn a little bit for Garver, Polanco, and Rayleigh. So when you're seeing that stuff go, you just need that game where Julio pieces it together a little bit more. You have a 3-4 hit game, maybe puts one out, maybe a couple of doubles. Mariners probably going to win that game. The they
Most likely.
didn't get there with the Braves where he had 3 hits in a game, one double, 2 singles, but good things happen when Julio's playing well. And
It does.
he's still been playing well defensively, except when he's running in to people in the outfield still. But they're a spot right now where you're not going to rest on your laurels, but you feel comfortable with where they're at and how well things have been going with the pitching staff. It's pieced together a few more runs. Then maybe you will get really hot with the bat. You look at last August, the Mariners as a team were extremely hot with the bat. Julio batted damn near 500 in the month. You had Ty France that turned it around a little bit during that month. Teoscar Hernandez started putting some balls out of the park. Cal really got really hot by putting the ball out of the park. So
Mhm.
JP stayed hot all year, right? So you kind of get these mixes and you're going to start getting guys back. Not sure the timetables exactly on all these, but it sounds like Santos is going to be back before the All-Star break. You're going to have JP coming back and being a more regular contributor, right? So then you're bumping some of these guys that are getting that play time right now that are going to be pieces that can become those folk heroes like Lil Luis Urias, right? He's a guy
Yeah.
right now where you sit there and you watch some of these at bats. You're like, what are you doing? And then he just puts a ball out of the park or just flails a bat, and something good happens. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like those one things like we talk about it with Jermaine Curse. Jermaine Curse, when he played with the Seahawks, could do absolutely nothing all game. It's clutch time in the fourth quarter, and the guy makes a circus catch. That
Every
is
time.
the if I want to find a comp football to baseball for these Seattle teams, Jermaine Curse and Luis Urias, real quick.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and I'd like you to give us a follow over on social media. You can find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
You can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, on YouTube at Kane06, TikTok Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.